Shalom, all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua, Ba'ashem HaRakah double and set elder apostles, great most on the rule well, and Shalom to the brothers in the work, certain truth. Just wanted to quickly, touch on a few scriptures. I was just meditating on like all these different, guys coming out of the woodwork, either with their own doctrines or kind of the classic upset people get towards GMS, whereas, when reproof or rebuke is going out, they'll be like, oh, but it's all Israel. But, it's really a thing that, you should be able to observe that, that when it comes to the scripture, you need to be teaching on point. And that's something that's been observed. You have accounts in the scriptures of men basically, demons being sent to put a lying spirit in a prophet's mouth, man, to make him a false prophet. So that means that you're gonna have just in all times there's false prophets, people talking shit. This is what marked them that caused division. So that's the thing that needs to be. But the thing with that is like you've really gotta have clung to the scriptures and then knuckled down and decided like, okay, what am I gonna hold to? So read this. Romans 14:5 says, one man esteemeth one day above another, another esteemeth every day alike. Let every man be fully persuaded in his own mind. And let every man be fully persuaded in his own mind. That's something that really you basically got to come to yourself. And that's as far as within this world, within this realm, it's like the kind of new age post like 2000s. I'd say they've kind of been creating that whole illusion of whatever you feel or you think or whatever can become your own reality, and it's really come into its own like post 2020, where it's become like a big thing to just kind of be like, oh, my truth or my whatever. But as the thing is you've got to be persuaded of what you know. And the thing is if that's you just indulging in whatever fantasies in your mind, then okay, you can run with that. When this mark gets put out, gets made mandatory, then if you believe in whatever, then you can subvert around needing to do that, or subvert any judgment if you're actually you are able to form your own reality. But if not, then the prophecies, the words of this book are gonna lay hold, and then your fate's basically sealed within. You take it, your fate's sealed, you're marked. You're gonna have to taste the second death before you can get into the kingdom if you're Israelite. If you're heathen, it's whatever, man. But even if you think you're a heathen, there's a lot of Jake out there where they might just be thinking they're heathen, and then some of them are gonna wake up. A lot of them are gonna get cooked. What does it say? Acts 5:34. It says, then stood there up one in the council, a Pharisee named Gamaliel. So this is I believe Stephen's defense. Is it? It'll have the title. Stephen's defense. Oh, is it? Oh no. It's when certain of the apostles got grabbed up and thrown in jail, right? And they went up, prof say, yeah. So they got cut. Because Acts 7 is Stephen's defense. Where they stone him. But so Gamaliel's counsel, what does it say? It says, then verse 34, then stood there up one in the council, a Pharisee named Gamaliel, a doctor of the law, had in reputation among all the people, and commanded to put the apostles forth a little space, and said unto them, ye men of Israel, take heed to yourselves what ye intend to do as touching these men. For before these days rose up Theudas, boasting himself to be somebody, to whom a number of men, about 400, joined themselves, who was slain, and all as many as obeyed him were scattered and brought to naught. And these are, examples that would have been timely for, during the Roman occupation when, uh, Judea was the Roman province and they were subject to payments to the Romans. Then, these would have been timely examples of men where they might have had that, what's the term, that cult of personality, that certain reputation to where, someone will stand up, they'll be like, okay, well, I'll go and I'll fuck with them. You know, where they're looking at things simplistically. Because what does it say? Of these days, rather, Foodus boasting himself to be someone to whom a number of men, about 400, joined themselves, who was slain. Yeah, so you had Foodus, who was an example, and then 400 men followed him, to rebel, and then they got done away with, man. They got cooked. They got smoked. Cause why? That's the Lord wasn't dealing with them, and that's really the key factor. Because as far as it's like whatever you're gonna put your trust in, is the only thing that's gonna have any ring out over time is what the Lord's backing. That's why even Esau's rule, as far as before its appointed time, no matter what you do, you ain't gonna bring it down. I ain't saying to do it, but if any kind of carnal resistance against Esau's rule is not going, it's not going to be successful, because one is spiritual warfare in the first place, and because the Lord's basically with this place to fulfill the words that's gone out, man. They've got a role to play. They've got prophecy to fulfill. So, and that's really the thing. It comes back to the words of the book. Because a lot of people, they'll just hear someone talking slick and then kind of run with them. They might hear something that pleases their sensibilities. But then, the words of the book are the words of the book. Whatever your sensibilities are, especially now. Now we're in a time where this modern age is a completely far-flung state from, righteousness being on earth. So those sensibilities that so-called sensibilities that you're born under, that civilization you're born under, is a completely alien, state. Which is why you would, and you always had that, them Israelite foreigners, man, where they would have grown up in amongst, some heathen, where the clothing, the way they function, the way they kind of think about things would be completely different. That's what people are doing now. So they might find someone where it's like, okay, they're just kind of, they take certain aspects of the truth, but then they massage it with whatever pleases them. And then, people are fuck with them. But, you can do that. You can follow them. But just bear in mind the examples. It says what? And after this man, it says, who was slain, all as many as obeyed him were scattered and brought to naught. After this man rose up Judas of Galilee in the days of the taxing, and drew away much people after him. He also perished, and all, even as many as obeyed him, were dispersed. And now I say unto you, refrain from these men, and let them alone. For if this counsel, this work be of men, it will come to naught. But if it be of the Most High, ye cannot overthrow it, lest haply ye be found even to fight against the Most High. And yeah, that's the thing that you should have in mind is, what's being done, what you're contending against. Is that what the Lord's with or not? And there's a lot of a lot of people that be like, oh, GMS XYZ. But then, especially when it comes to certain questions they have, learning certain things, getting understanding, they know the first group to go to is GMS. Why? Because they're breaking down the scriptures, man. On point. People are getting understanding, man. But they'll hear something that offends them, and then they'll scarper off to someone else. Because why? It's pleasant to them, man. I say this, 1 Corinthians 1:26. For you see, your calling, brethren, had it not many wise men after the flesh, not many mighty, not many noble are called. But the Most High have chosen the foolish things of the world to confound the wise, and the Most High have chosen the weak things of the world to confound the things which are mighty. Yeah, so even with what do you call it? These different things that people found the foolish things of the world to confound the wise, the weak things of the world to confound the things which are mighty. Yeah, even with people trying to present some kind of great orator status, some high, the things that are respected in the world, man. Like these mega churches, these different entertainers, musicians, so-called celebrities, that whole dynamic by which they engage with the world. That's something that people are trying to emulate in the word. They're trying to can go with Sakari, where it's that carnal, worldly, so-called black culture angle is a big part of the draw for what people want to engage with this guy for. Because why? It's pleasant to them. But then lo and behold, behind closed doors, what's this guy really about? He's getting his missus is going to Amazon, going on fucking Hinge. Ugh, hell in a cell, bro. Hell in a handbasket, bro. Just madness is going on. Complete insanity. But then, the carnal presentation's there to where, even to this day, people are still like, oh, gotta forgive. And there is a path to forgiveness. There's a role for forgiveness to play. But then it's also, you need to be approaching that from an adequate angle, man. A lot of people, trying to be like, what is it, wrong and strong, man. Because there's, and the base things of the world and things which are despised have the Most High chosen, yea, and things which are not, to bring to naught things that are, that no flesh should glory in his presence. And yeah, things that are despised. And that's why it's like a lot of the things being presented, as far as especially with this world, where the entire foundation of its construction is what, against the children of the Most High, against these people, and against what the order that's established underneath them, the laws, righteousness, these things, they're all now not a consideration. Everything's basically being done to flip that on its head. Because why was it say that no flesh should glory in his presence, but of him are ye in Hamashiach Yahushai, who is power, who the Most High has made unto us wisdom and righteousness and sanctification and redemption. So yeah, we're basically following in the stead of Yahushai. So then the main thing we should be thinking about is pleasing Yahushai, not men on earth. Because Acts 10:34, then Peter opened his mouth and said, of a truth, I perceive that the Most High is not a respecter of persons. And that's really the core of it. Because especially with this world, the whole aspect of celebrity culture, which really came in with TV, that came in with, that supreme witchcraft, the television box, where that was used for like the mass level of casting of spells upon the general nation, to where, what they call it? They call it a monoculture. That's funny. That's the term they now use. It's a monoculture where everyone will kind of be aware of. That's why you had like pop music. You had like pop culture, because it was popular, because it was a standard. And even when you had like radio, it wasn't on the same scale as television, because television is that much more enthralling, to where like the generations that grew up with TV, it's like they'll, the older now it'll be the older generation. Now it's Gen Z, Gen Alpha, even millennials. They're all smartphone generation. And to be fair, everyone's on their fucking smartphone. But then with the older generations, the way they engage with TV is like they're completely engrossed in it. And that basically, you've had television hosts, celebrities, movie stars, music performances, these things you had. But then with the TV, you had that culture of celebrity, more centralized, more refined and developed. And then everyone's got drawn in more and more. And then with the newer technologies, smartphones, these things in the modern age, people are even more drawn in and completely engrossed in that um, celebrity culture where it's like what is full on respect of persons. Even someone could be a complete devil, but then if you donate some money to some causes, you get to call yourself a philanthropist, and then you get say like, wow, he's saving the world, he's doing this, he's put money into that, he's thinking that meanwhile these guys might might have people in slavery on their estates. They could pay what was the movie Hostel, they could pay to go to some far off island somewhere and then hunt people like the animals. Like who the fuck even knows what they're getting up to? But that the respect for a person's aspect is what has drawn in everyone now. And there's you got men even trying to utilize that in Israel, and it's succeeding to a degree. Because a lot of people, they just kind of hear like, oh, the way he raps his game, the way he speaks, the way he presents himself, the whole kind of aura they have is what they're looking at, the broadened phylacteries, rather than what's being taught, what's being said. So a guy will be breaking down, oh, the mark's this, the mark's anything but the implantable RFID microchip, but it's this guy's flipped from saying, oh, the mark's one thing to saying the mark's another thing, to saying it's this, to saying it's that. You know, the breakdown changes every 2-3 years. But then, just because of the presentation, they're like, oh, respect as a person's, man. Finish on this. In Revelation 22:18, it says, for I testify unto every man that heareth the words of the prophecy of this book. If any man shall add unto these things, the Most High shall add unto him the plagues that are written in this book. And if any man shall take away from the words of this book, of the book of this prophecy, the Most High shall take away his part out of the book of life and out of the holy city, and from the things which are written in this book. And yeah, that's the cold reality of it. They're adding and taking away, which is something that you should be aware. You add, you take away. You're then writing yourself into that destruction. And a lot of people have done this. They basically just said, "Oh, I can just come up." But then what? It's it's a carnal. It's just a people worshipping viewpoint. When really this is all about Yahweh Shai. Yahweh Shai is the one who needs to get the shine. Yahweh Shai is the one whose name needs to be going out. But then you got groups, saying Most High Christ bless, talking about some Jesus. But they're examples and distractions and stumbling blocks, for those that whose role is to not understand this word at this time. Cold as hell. But yeah, I'll leave it there. Shalom, shalom, shalom.